Today, I want to talk about how we can take control over our finances in such an unpredictable career field like the music industry. Before we begin, I want to make it clear that this isn't a get rich quick scheme. I'm not claiming to have an abundance of money, and there's nothing monetary that I gain from making this video, not even through AdSense. And the things that I've learned running my business as an audio engineer and a studio owner took me from maxed out credit cards and skipping meals to having more control over my finances and better understanding the ups and downs of having a business and being an audio engineer. And most importantly, I wish I knew this all 6 years ago when I first started my business and that I didn't have to learn it the hard way, which is why I want to share it with you today. And so let's talk about the elephant in the room. Having a career in the music industry is hard. It's different, and you need to approach it differently than your traditional career. Often, even for seasoned mixing engineers, the biggest names out there, they're going to have months of intense work followed by months of little to no work. And that unpredictability is what keeps people away from creating and sustaining a career in the music industry. By understanding unpredictability, we can start to create a career for ourselves, being audio engineers or owning our own studios. Understanding unpredictability can be broken down into 3 steps. Step 1 would be to dissolve the idea that we have a monthly income. The amount of money you bring in each month needs to last you until the next client comes in. And the email to start your next project could come in tonight or could come in 6 months from now. And we need to be prepared for that. Me personally, when I first started my studio, I would make however much I made each month, pay all my bills, and the rest went to buying a new piece of gear or just spending it. Because traditional career paths give you a fixed set of income each month. We're tempted to spend it each month because we know the next month that exact same amount of money is going to come in. But if we apply that to our business, the whole thing falls apart. So again, we need to dissolve the idea that we have a monthly income. And so now that we've dissolved the idea that we have a monthly income, we need to minimize our overhead and create a strict budget. And everybody's overhead and what they choose to budget for is going to be personal to themselves. Your ability to minimize your budget is in direct relation to your peace of mind and your longevity in your career. If you're spending a lot and you have a large budget, each project isn't going to last you as long as it could if you had a smaller budget or less overhead. And for me personally, in my life, I advocate that I minimize my overhead as much as possible. There's a lot of things that I would give up just so I can run a studio. But equally, when you're assessing what is worth it in your budget, what's worth it in your overhead, make sure to incorporate things that bring you joy in your life. For example, I like to budget that I can get a cup of coffee every morning, go to a nice cafe, and just be with my community. And that brings me a lot of joy. And also, running a studio brings me a lot of joy. And so I make sure I prioritize those things. And there's other things in my life that I choose not to prioritize because I want to make sure that I can do this as long as I can. And for step 3, and now that we have dissolved the idea of monthly income and that we have created a budget for ourselves, we can take those 2 numbers, take how much money we have, divide it by our budget, and now we can see how long we have until we need our next artist or client to come in. And through disciplining ourselves and creating that budget, we're able to create predictability out of a career that's often seen as pretty unpredictable. Next, I want to talk about something I'm still working on, but that has had such a profound effect on how I budget that I wanted to share that with you today. And that is creating sustainability through the 10% rule. We all understand the ups and downs of having a career as an audio engineer, and often months will fluctuate by more than 10%. I'll put a graph on the screen of my income this year, and you'll see that some months fluctuate by 50%. And so knowing that, we know that if our income was to change by 10% each month, that wouldn't necessarily make or break us. We may just need to budget a little bit tighter. And so we take that 10% off of everything we make and we stash that away somewhere, preferably for me, somewhere that I don't see it. When we take that 10% off the top, we're able to start building a savings account, an account that we can use to buy gear separate from our operating account where all of our expenses and overhead comes out of. Because for me personally, when I see money stack up in the operating account, it gets pretty tempting to want to buy a new piece of gear, when in reality, if I just let it sit there, that's months of peace of mind that I have. And so through taking that 10% off the top of everything I make, and stashing it away in a separate bank account that I don't really see, I'm starting to build a emergency fund and then eventually a fund for buying new equipment that is completely separate from my operating expenses. And so when we're budgeting and we're able to make the gigs we get last for months, and then we're taking that 10% off and stashing it away where we don't really see it and we don't necessarily feel it coming out of our bank accounts, we're able to create 2 layers of predictability, again, out of something that's perceived as unpredictable and unsustainable. And we're able to create a nice comfort zone when we're running our business. And the less you're worried about paying your rent, the better you can run your business. The more time you can just think about the thing that you love in the first place, and that's turning these knobs, compressing drums, and making great mixes. Thank you all for tuning in to another video. If you want to support the channel, you can subscribe. We've also got shirts for sale linked in our bio. And with these shirts, it's really important to me that I was able to offer you guys a high quality shirt at a great price, so I don't make any money off of them. It's purely just if you want to support the channel with a shirt that I really enjoy, and that will be shipped to you in this cool mailer. So I just wanted to do something, do it right at a great price. And lastly, you can support the channel by signing up for our newsletter. They heard about our shirts first last week. Thanks so much, y'all.